All right. It looks like we are live.
Excellent.
All
Excellent.
right. All right. Good morning, folks, and good afternoon, James. James, you're the creator of the Downed Earth or the Drowned Earth. Excuse me.
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
so tell us where you got the inspiration for this game.
Well, that's a long story, but basically,
Condensed version.
I can condense it by saying that I decided that I was the coolest I'd ever been when I was about 7 or 8, and so I just thought about all the things that I thought were really cool then, which was basically jungles, dinosaurs, the post-apocalypse, crazy technology, talking gorillas, etc., and sort of mashed them all up into a highly narrative, sort of dynamic movement style war game.
Okay. So tell us a background information on the game for those that may not be familiar with it.
So imagine a world that's perhaps a little bit like our own, which for some reason, a couple of hundred years in our future, that kind of technology level, near future technology, for some reason, global civilization collapses and nobody quite knows why anymore. But this happened a number of years ago, at least 500 years ago, maybe even more than that. And so the details of what happened have completely been lost. But what everybody knows is that the sea levels rose, the world got much, much hotter. The civilization was very involved in genetic experimentation, reviving extinct species, splicing human DNA with animal DNA, this kind of thing. And now we live in a world which reflects all of that kind of crazy diversity, and the jungles are filled with dinosaurs and other kinds of prehistoric animals, and civilization is trying to rebuild by searching through the ruins, finding out what people did before, and trying to relearn, science and technology and all of this sort of stuff.
So do you pick a team, I guess, or like a
That's
war
right, yeah.
band?
So there are 5. There are just about to be 6. We're about to launch another Kickstarter for a sort of hybrid expansion to the game and also standalone game, which I'll talk about in a minute. But there are currently 5, but there are soon to be 6 factions, which are crews of. I guess so. Sometimes people, when they look at the game, they're surprised. They're like, "Oh, your factions aren't like the races or the species of the world." And no, they're not. They're all mixed up. So most factions have got a big gorilla dude, because who doesn't want a big gorilla dude?
Right.
But the factions are basically the artifactors are adventurers, archaeologists, Lara Croft, Indiana Jones style people. You've got the firm, who are Yakuza style gangsters, highwaymen, general bad dudes. You've got the militia, who are, as you'd imagine, they're the town militia, volunteer military force to protect the little towns from roving dinosaurs and bands of raiders and this kind of thing. You've got the bondsmen. They are the slave breakers, the assassins, the bodyguards. Basically, they work for anyone who keeps slaves, who to keep them in, they escape, they send the bondsman after them if you need a problem solving, that sort of thing. And then lastly, we have the Wayfarer faction, who are sort of enigmatic mercenaries. They seem to have some kind of moral code, but nobody really knows what it is. They take some jobs but not others, and they're a kind of loose association. Nobody really knows what they're up to, but they'll work with all of the factions at some times, but it seems only on their own terms.
Yeah, sounds interesting. Again, your game was highly spoken of by a game named, we call him Mac, but his name's William McClellan.
Yeah, I know him well. Yep.
Yeah. So he spoke very highly of your game. I know he does a lot of terrain builds for it, yep. And he constantly pushes your games at conventions.
He's made some really incredible terrain. He sort of finds all these things in dollar stores and thrift stores, old toys, and makes these crazy, huge contraptions.
Oh yeah, it's phenomenal stuff. The minis, the miniatures. Are you part of the design team for that? I mean, you have the creative say over them.
Well, they're all my ideas, and I basically act as artistic director for the company. So all of the miniatures come out of my head, and I work very closely with concept artists and sculptors to turn them into something awesome. And we're very proud of our metal production as well. We maintain I think, fantastic quality of metal. Most people who see them primed assume that they're resin models, but we're still using traditional, very environmentally friendly, very little wastage in metal production.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say they're beautiful. So I was curious, as what's the name of the company, if you can share that?
Olmec Games.
Okay.
As in the Mexican civilization.
Okay. Can you maybe walk us through how, like maybe like a turn? How does
Sure. So it's an alternate activation miniatures game. The different crews are mostly personality based, so you've got individual characters, named characters, but you can also have dinos on your team, trained sort of attack dinos basically. And it's alternate activation. So I'll move a model, then you move a model. You have activation points, and when you activate a model, you can use one or more of their activation points. You don't have to use them all. However, you're not going to get to activate again during that turn. So instantly people are like, well, why would you not spend all of your action points? But so it's a game with a reaction mechanic, but it isn't a sort of limitless reaction mechanic. You actually have to spend your action points as a resource in order to react. And so that's a big part of the game, working out where to get in the right position, whether you want to spend during your turn or whether you want to hold back and sort of act defensively. The game is there's a very simple dice mechanic which runs almost everything in the game. We use the same dice roll regardless of whether you're moving, shooting, or whatever. You roll 2 dice. One of them is called the attribute die. The other one's called the feat die. You've got to roll equal or under your attribute. That's your basic stat, name for a stat, in order to do the thing. If you roll it on the attribute die, you passed. If you roll it on both the attribute and the feat die, then you've nailed it, which is a better version of whatever you were trying to do. And so if you're shooting, that means more range, more damage. If you're moving, if you're trying to climb up a wall, etc. If you're just walking along, you don't need to roll for that. If you're swimming, you don't need to roll for that, but you move a lesser distance. But if you're climbing, jumping, you can run along, climb up a little bit. You can jump onto a building and carry on climbing, all during the same activation, all during the same action, all with 1 dice roll. You just say what your movement path is, roll the dice, see how many dice that allows you to move, depending on whether you got the basic or the better success, and then you move that many inches. There's also a special symbol on the feat die called the feat symbol. That's why. And what that means is that you nail it, but you also get your action point back. So at times you can chain these sort of crazy combinations of different actions together and really do some cool heroic stuff. And since it's a game with a reaction mechanic, it means you can have all of these really cool sort of Mexican standoffs. You can leap out of a building, and as you're falling, you can sort of shoot somebody in midair. They can shoot you back in midair as well. So the game really, my design objective was to create a game that had a lot of these really cool little story moments in them, not by engineering them into the mechanics, but just making mechanics where they'd naturally happen in games. Right. So I thought my number one target was, if I can create a game where, and we all do it as miniatures gamers, after the game you want to talk to your friends about it. If I can make a game where people can tell the story, but they don't talk about the dice they rolled or the mechanics they used, they just describe naturally what happened, then I've done a good thing.
Right. Yeah, it's like watching a movie, or reading a book, telling a story.
Yeah.
So now these the dice that you've talked about, I guess you created those. I mean, it's not like your normal D6 or anything like that.
They're D10s. They're D10s. So you can use normal D10s as long as they obviously have to be 2 different colors in order to remember which was which. And then you have to remember that the one face on the feat die is the special symbol.
Right.
So that's important. I mean, we produce the dice with a beautiful little symbol, and all the numbers are our sort of, you know, the sort of game font, and you can buy those. But if you don't want to, you can use regular D10s as well.
Okay. Now, is your website, is that the, you know, for those that may be interested in looking at it, I mean, it's thedrowned.earth.com.
That's right.
They can order the game there. Now, is it retailed anywhere else? I mean, are there other stores?
Yeah, so we've got distribution in the US. You can buy it. I think you guys are all local to Discover Games, aren't you?
Sort of, but they're up near Atlanta.
Semi-local.
Yeah, we're about 4.5, 5 hours from Atlanta. So.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure they sell online as well. You can buy it from Noble Knight. I don't know where they're based, but another US company. So we've just recently got a distribution deal with War Cradle, the makers of the Wild West Exodus game. And so soon, obviously, we're in a bit of a funny situation at the moment as far as supply lines and people going out about their normal sort of day-to-day business. But very soon, anyway, you should get Wild West Exodus. You should be able to, if they don't have it in the shop, they should be able to get it for you, no problem. But you can buy from us. We're open for business at the moment. I've moved everything home and I'm doing all the fulfillment myself, and it's free shipping over £100, which is what, $130, something like that. It's somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm not sure the conversion rate,
and it changes. So nor am I.
Right. So yeah, I was going to ask about how I guess this pandemic has, you know, affected, you know, business and affected your. So do you have like a local shop? I mean, like a shop, I guess, that you run things out of, or just everything's run out of your house?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So normally I have I mean, this is sort of boring business stuff, but normally I don't do the fulfillment myself. I use a company to do that, but they're all closed and yeah, you know, social distancing, etc. So I got all the stock home and I'm just doing things from home at the moment. But as far as normally in the UK, we've got distribution as well. You can buy it in the shops here, but you know, we sell on our website as well. But I think really the sort of the current situation, I work from home anyway, so it's not so different for me. It's nice. My girlfriend's also working from home, so I've got a bit of company that isn't just the cat. But other than that, you know, we're preparing a Kickstarter for basically the sister game to the Drowned Earth called Elia Chronicles, which is basically a kind of hybrid between the Drowned Earth and a dungeon crawler, but it's solo and co-op. With an AI system that's running the dino. So you've got a little deck of cards for each type of dino you've got. You flip a card and follow the actions and play against the game. Very cool. But of course, in this current climate, it's been really hard. We're launching on the 5th of May. And it's been really hard to even just get a prototype in my hands to do some film. Obviously, normally we'd hire a cameraman and a studio and do a really beautiful Kickstarter video. This time I'm going to have to do it in my spare room. You know, there's nothing we can do about it, but you know, hopefully it won't make too much of a difference. But yeah, it's been tricky anyway.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. And you said May 5th, so that's coming up real soon.
Yeah. Yeah,
couple weeks, I guess.
That's right. Right.
So, well, I mean, is there anything else you would, you know, like to?
Well, if anybody's interested in the Kickstarter I was talking about, they need to go to Elia Chronicles. That's ULAYA and then chronicles.com. That's a little one-page website that gives you a bunch of information. You can see some pretty pictures of some of the stuff. The new faction that's coming out is the pirate faction. But basically you're shipwrecked on an island and you have to find your way off, and you have to find your way off either by fighting or befriending these pirates while being attacked by dinos as you're traveling around, trying to, you know, there's a big mystery going on in the island, which I don't want to say too much about, but slowly during the course of the campaign, you'll find out what's going on there. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I wish I'd done the Kickstarter this year and was delivering now, because of course everyone sitting at home doing nothing would actually be able to play it solo, which would have been great. But you know, there we go.
All right, folks. So again, this is James Baldwin, creator of the Drowned Earth. He's sitting in talking about his game. Are there any other ideas, maybe years down the line that
Well,
you?
yeah. I mean, I'm sort of generally a game designer, and I'm sort of I don't want to release things too quickly before they're ready, etc. I also want to concentrate on getting the thing I'm working on now right. But every week for a couple of hours, I work on something else. So I've got a card game also set in the Drowned Earth in the pipeline. I've been talking to one of the artists that I've worked with quite closely. We're talking about actually doing a graphic novel,
Okay.
which should be really cool, set in the same world. In fact, it's the what's the word? The kind of origin story for the story of Raptorclaw Island. Elia Chronicles Raptorclaw Island is the full name of the game that we're about to release. So as you discover this mystery on this island, when you read the graphic novel, you'll get the whole backstory of how it happened and how it came to be. So that's something cool for the future. But yeah, I mean, over the next couple of years, we've got a lot of plans to release games, mostly in the Drowned Earth for the moment, but we might branch out at some stage in the future as well.
Right. All right. Again, the website is thedrownedearth.com. If people want to go and check it out, I was looking at it last night. You can order, I guess, the different factions, if you want to call them that, the game,
Yep.
rule books, terrain. Is terrain on there? I believe.
No terrain on the website.
Okay.
No, we've got. You can. You guys, in fact, we're working with an American company to possibly get some official scenery made. European, we use Zen Terrain in Poland. They make some really cool stuff. But hopefully, stateside, we should have some stuff as well.
All right, and then you mentioned the new game coming out. If you could give that website.
Yeah,
again,
that's Ulaya Chronicles. It's ULAYA and then chronicles.com. So Ulaya is the name of the continent that you're playing on when you play in the Drowned Earth. So it's set in the same time period, the same universe. We're sharing the model ranges. Everything that you've got in Ulaya Chronicles, you'll be able to use in the Drowned Earth. Most importantly, if you're a Drowned Earth player, you'll be able to use the AI system from Ulaya Chronicles to run AI dinos in the Drowned Earth. So you can basically play a competitive game with some NPC dinos in the middle that will attack both of you, or you can try and find clever ways of making them attack your opponent and not you, that sort of stuff.
All right. We've got a few people saying, "Hey guys," they're showing up as Facebook user on StreamYard, but on the Facebook page, Michael Baker, a guy named Sigmund Lee, Max, they're all saying hello.
Excellent. Hi guys. Great to be here. Great to talk to you all.
Let me ask. We can hang out for a few more minutes, and let's see if anybody's watching, if they have any questions for James. We'll see if any questions pop up.
Sure. I've also been using StreamYard recently because we've been doing we used to do them monthly, but we thought while this whole virus thing is happening, let's move them to weekly. So we've been streaming every Tuesday night, and I think I love the StreamYard system. It's really sort of easy and convenient compared to something like OBS.
Yeah, I was part of an interview with another guy here in town that interviewed a former WWE wrestler, and so he was using StreamYard, so that's why I decided to use it. So, but it seems just fairly easy and simple. So,
well, years ago they had the Google Hangouts live on YouTube, and you could plug it straight in, and that was also easy. For a little while, we were using Zoom. It was pretty difficult to get Zoom connected to YouTube, and a couple of times it failed, and this is just a lot easier.
Well, I tried Zoom. I couldn't figure out how to do like a live broadcast with it.
Yeah, it's pretty messy.
So Facebook user asked, the D10 system that is percentile based, where you roll equal or under.
So you roll equal or under, but it isn't percentile. So it's not two D10s making a D100. They're two different dice that you're rolling and checking individually.
All right, we've got someone We've seen some great terrain from Mac. Does the rule set have interactive features or environmental effects?
Well, so firstly, because of the movement rules that I described earlier, where basically you just make one dice roll and it says how far you move in whatever crazy path of movement you want. It's a really three-dimensional game, and there's a lot of water on the board as well. Jump off a building, then you're probably gonna die. But if you jump off a building into water, you won't. So that three-dimensionality really makes you interact with the scenery in a completely different way to how you do in a normal war game, which is kind of 2D with some height, but you don't interact with that too much. There's also a chapter in the print version of the rulebook. You can download the basic rules, well, the full rules for free. Doesn't have the fluff, and it doesn't have the optional rules chapter. The optional rules chapter was a Kickstarter unlock where it's got lots of kind of cool narrative things like swing points. You can put 2 tokens to represent vines and swing between one position and the other. Swim points, piranhas in the water, ambush areas of little dino nests, all of that kind of destroyable terrain as well. You can shoot the platform someone's standing on instead of shooting them, all that kind of stuff. So those we don't use those rules in tournaments because they're completely crazy and unbalanced, which makes them more fun, right? But people get upset when things are too luck based in a tournament. But if you're just out for some cool narrative fun at home, then that chapter really serves you well, I think.
Yeah, it was like we discussed earlier. It's kind of like a movie. I mean, or like an action movie, you said, you see them on the ledge and you throw the bomb at the ledge and not necessarily at the person, just to wreak havoc. So,
cinematic is definitely one of the words that we use to describe the game.
Yeah. Again, I've looked at it a couple times. I mean, the game just looks, I've never played it, but the game looks beautiful. So, anyway, we'll see if a few more questions pop in.
Well, hopefully next time you run into Mac, he's great at giving demos.
Oh yeah. He's about 3 hours, a little over 3 hours from me. Yeah. Although a couple years ago, he had posted on Facebook that he was like, whoever wants this terrain piece can have it for free. And I said, I'll take it. Yeah. So my wife and I jumped in the car and made a day out of it because, like I said, it's about 3 hours away, and we went and picked it. And that was the first time I had met him. Yeah. I mean, we had spoken online. All right. Someone, they asked, and we did talk about this, but they probably missed it again. What was your inspiration for such a unique game setting? And then most skirmish games are mostly sci-fi, ruins, or dungeoneering.
Well, yeah, so I felt I was coming into the miniature game world, without any sort of prior history or reputation or anything like that. There's no point in making something that's already been made, and so I wanted to make a unique setting. And to be honest with you, the world building was more than half the fun for me, in a funny kind of way. Like they say about Tolkien, like he said that he wrote the books in order to develop the languages. That was his real passion. For me, the world building is definitely the real passion. And I wanted to make something new and fresh. And I'd always looked, I like post-apocalyptic stuff, but I've always looked at it. And, have you seen the photographs of Chernobyl, where you look and you're like, after a nuclear disaster, the world doesn't look like a big desert. Actually, it looked like nature comes back and grows and takes over things. And I went to in my early 20s, I went to Cambodia and I went to Angkor Wat, which is also like crazy old ruins, 1,000 years old in the jungle, and everything. There was the jungle had almost erased any evidence of that anyone had ever lived there. It's only because they built in these huge stone blocks that there was anything left. And I thought, that's what the post-apocalypse should look like, really. And then crazy dinosaurs and gorillas because they're cool.
Yeah. All right, again, for those that may be interested in the game, the drownedearth.com. You've got the new game, in the expansion. Hopefully I spelled that right.
Yep, pretty sure.
Okay. I'll butcher it. Ulea Chronicles.
Alaya,
Alaya.
but near enough.
Okay. AlayaChronicles.com if you're interested in the new Kickstarter that'll be coming out, which drops, you said May 5th.
That's right.
Well, James, here we go. Here's another comment. There has been an explosion in tabletop gaming at big publishers and at an indie level. What advice do you have for people who have a passion to see a game designed to fruition?
Well, it's as the question already states, it's a crowded marketplace. It's a lot more difficult to do it now than it was, say, 5 or 6 years ago. And I think what I'd say, like any business endeavor, really, work out how much work you're willing to put into it, and then say, what if I needed to do twice that much work? Would you still be interested? Because it probably will be twice the work you think it is. If you've got that commitment and you're really willing to just make a lot of personal sacrifices to make it happen and to do the thing that you want to do, then absolutely go for it. If you're not willing to do that, then I'd say maybe think of it as a hobby and just dabble a bit and see where it goes.
That's good. Good information there. That came from, I have to click on the Facebook page because when they pop up on StreamYard, they're showing up as Facebook user.
Yeah.
But those last couple questions have been coming from a guy that's in our gaming group here, Sig Lee. He's a local doctor. He's a big time gamer. He used to be on the admin staff of the Waycross gaming community. So, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're probably got other things you could be doing, and but I do appreciate you sitting in with us.
No, it's been a pleasure. I'm in mad Kickstarter preparation mode, but I've always got time to stream and to talk to people. It's fun.
All right. Well, again, maybe after your Kickstarter, we can sit down again for another chat. And
yeah, that'd be great.
All right. See how that's going.
Excellent.
All right. I appreciate it, James. Have a good one.
Thanks very much. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.